The world feels a bit toxic and blah these days, doesn't it? The same old people coming up with the same old solutions for big problems that still don't work. We need to change the game. Well, welcome to Women Advancing. Join me, host Kate Byrne, in this dynamic bi-weekly podcast, bringing together female founders, funders, and thought leaders. Listen to the people driving change, how they got there, how you can help, and yep, how you might just be the next one to advance. Proof that all ships rise with women at the helm. That's what happens when Women Advance with Kate Byrne. Hey everyone, it's your host of Women Advancing, Kate Byrne. This episode, this is personal. I'm doing this in support and recognition of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. My mother passed from breast cancer, and I've had several friends who are either battling it or on the other side and victorious. And it leads me to my conversation with today's guest. Because, sometimes it takes a shock to the system to wake us up. And for sisters Brenda and Sharon Todd, the founders of Todd Films, that wake-up call came earlier this year when Sharon, who was a venture capitalist who'd spent majority of her time funding everyone else's visions, was diagnosed with breast cancer. In that moment, everything shifted, as you can well imagine. And instead of managing portfolios, she went on to start managing purpose, her own purpose. So together with her sister Brenda, they left finance and marketing, respectively, to go and launch Todd Films, which is a creative studio that tells the stories of nonprofits and social impact innovators who far too often go unseen and unfunded. As biracial sisters, Korean and Black, they've spent their lives translating between two worlds. Now they're using film to do the same. For impact, though, turning empathy into visibility and visibility into capital. In this episode, we're going to talk about, what happens when life forces you to stop waiting for someday and take that leap. The leap from capital markets to creative storytelling and the transferability of skills. They're more common than you think. And how Todd Films, its goal, its potential return that it hopes to bring is reframing storytelling as a form of social investment. Because you know what? Sometimes the biggest returns come when you stop chasing numbers and you start chasing meaning. Listen in, stay to the end. There's some really great KB takeaways, if I do say so myself. And then let me know what you think. Welcome, Women Advancing listeners. Please join me in saying a warm hello to today's guests, two fantastic filmmakers who are definitely on your to-watch list. That is the powerful sister team of Sharon and Brenda Todd, who are the co-founders of Todd Films. Hey, you two, welcome.
Thanks,
Hi.
Kate.
Thank
Nice
you for
to
having
see you. Thanks for having us.
Our pleasure. Good to see you too. I love your story because it's an important one for all of us to hear, especially now with all these crazy times. Life is short, twists and turns, and I know you've had a few on your own. So let's open up and let's talk a little bit about some of your personal journeys and, frankly, the pivots that led you to where you are. So let's start with that big leap, because so often that's hard to do. We're in a comfy situation. What was a moment, or there might have even been a few of them, that pushed you both to found Todd Films?
Well, since Sharon and I are 4 years apart in age, but we're super close. And since we were little kids, we've been putting on plays. Sharon's first play was called Mansion of Problems. She was the writer and director, and I was the producer and the boss on set. Her friends, I was friends with all of her friends who were older. So we put on this big play on an army base in South Korea where we grew up. And our whole family is very artistic. Our sister's in theater, our dad's a singer, mom's an artist. So
Oh, wow.
we've always been really creative. And I think, honestly, since that moment when were you 11, Sharon?
I was 11, you were 7.
Yeah, so I was 7. We knew that one day, like, all roads would lead to filmmaking.
Yeah.
We've
always had really big imaginations.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love, Brenda, that you were the boss lady at age 7.
Oh, yeah. We would hold auditions, and I would cut people just at 7
You
years
had
old, and they were
full-blown
all older than
auditions.
12. Just cut people.
Nice work. And, the thing about that is, oh man, so many young girls start with that.
Mhm.
And then as we get a little bit older, about around age 11 and 13, it kind of diminishes. But I will say, I have found that it often comes back.
It does.
There comes this point where you're just like, you know what? To heck with this.
Right.
Mhm.
And that voice starts going, no, let me out of my box. And
Mhm.
it comes back to roost. Well, Sharon, I know that, we know each other from the venture capital world, right?
Yes.
Just it's a world of risk, it's got returns, it's strategy. What happened to you earlier this year that made you say, "Oh, it's time now"?
Yeah. Well, I will say one major event was being diagnosed with breast cancer this year, and thank God surviving it by the end of the year. We've reached a good point in life, but it was certainly.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Very long journey, even with, even after finding out that I had localized cancer, there's the process of finding how bad the tumor is, right? And undergoing a mastectomy. There was a lot of changes this year. It's been on my heart, and Brennan and I have talked about this since we owned our businesses before, that we would start another business and it would be storytelling. It would be, the core would be storytelling via film. But it was just an idea. And then after being diagnosed with breast cancer and sort of going through that time period, why not now became the question. Like, why not right this second? And so I think before even the first surgery, Brandon, right, is that right? Before we formed Todd Films officially. And, we've made films before, but we just decided, let's go full blown. Let's not wait, right? Breast cancer is one of those things where it is typically a life and death situation if it's not taken care of. And you just realize how much control you do not have over life, right? And so certainly a major catalyst in us doing that now. Yeah.
And dig a little deeper. What's the difference for you when you're saying we decided to go full blown, as opposed to making it just kind of a hobby? It's literally clearing the decks. This is our thing that we're going to devote every ounce of energy that we have, and political capital, relational capital, financial capital toward.
Right. I would say full blown would mean doing it afraid, right? And doing it without all the answers. And then also it just means sort of employing all that you've learned in a corporate space. How to take all the best practices from marketing and storytelling and filmmaking, infusing it so that you could actually, one, make a living off of it as well, right? And then also simultaneously do something you're really passionate about. And so that's full blown and not just doing it as a side thing, right?
As a side hustle.
Right, exactly. And like you and I, we come from venture, impact driven venture capital. And it was just, just those times sort of train you up for moments like this as well, right? So we're like, okay, we have all the components that we need to drive and to build a successful business. And it can very well be a business that we are super passionate about in our personal lives. So I would say that's what the full blown was. Let's go full. In this climate, during this time, we were going to go for mission driven films.
And just that caveat of not being in your early 20s anymore. So going full blown also means that you're trying to avoid living with 10 other people in your New York City apartment and trying to sell your script. So we're, as Sharon said, how can we fuse everything that we've learned, whether it's in corporate or 10 years with our business in Helsinki, and turn it into a business model that we're passionate about and that can keep a roof over our heads. Because when you're in your 20s, you're like, let's just go to LA and become an actress or become, starving artist mentality. So how can we responsibly, within whatever the frame of responsibility means for us?
Right.
In our 40s.
No, exactly. And I want to talk a little bit, not quite yet, but I want to go back to this notion of, and I love that point of taking those skills that you have from corporate and translating them. I've often wished that I had created an app that translated. In marketing, in finance, they call this. In education, they call that this. You know what I mean? So that you sort of become more fluid, because at the end of the day, there's so many skills that really are applicable. And I think if more people understood that, they'd feel comfortable making a pivot and taking a leap because they're like, oh, wait a minute. Heck, I so do, especially women.
Right.
I
Mhm.
do know how to do this. I've been doing that forever. And,
I've
oh,
been doing it forever. Yep, yes. Yeah, and it doesn't have to look like anyone else's journey. That's taking the leap, right? Because I think
yes.
oftentimes, it's great to have mentors, it's great to have examples of people who've done it before you. But in these sort of spaces, if you consider my sister and I, right, in these kind of spaces, we represent less than a fraction, right? Just as Black, Korean women, right? And you can add on a whole slew of other things, right? And so if
Yep.
we wait until enough of us have made films or if enough of us have gone to start a business, right, we would just never do it.
Right.
And, and I think to Brenda's point, when you are no longer in your 20s and hopefully less impressionable than you were when you're in your 20s, right? And you start to realize, you look around, if I keep waiting, I will never do this. And so, yeah.
I had a guest on not that long ago, Mayor Shariftida, and she swam the English Channel and she swam around
Wow.
Ugh.
Bay and Manhattan, blah, blah, all these amazing things. And that was one of her biggest pearls was you're ready. You have to go when you're not ready because you actually are ready. And so the conditions are never going to be perfect. To your point, if you're waiting for perfect, hope you look good in blue because you'll be holding your breath for a really long time.
I'm still in that.
Yeah. Yeah, please, you may share. It's there for the taking, by all means. So, Brenda, how about you? You were doing when this was all sort of going on prior to, say, like last year, the last 2 years.
I was in marketing communications for a nonprofit, a Haitian microfinance nonprofit. So I was leading the digital marketing, storytelling over there, and more so donor communications and things like that. And
Yeah.
so, again, natural segue into what we're doing now.
Absolutely. The gift of the ask.
Exactly, the gift of the ask. And then with our family, it's just 5 of us. So we don't have a huge extended family, and the rest of them are in Korea or in Alabama. So we're really close. And when Sharon got her diagnosis, it just, like she said, it pushed us into doing this because since I turned 40, I didn't have any crisis or anything like that, but I have been zooming out a lot and just taking stock of what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the conclusion I've come to is you have to do what works for you, even if it disappoints other people or scares other people. There's a lot of familial pressure, societal pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I've been asking myself, would I be able to live with myself at the end of the day or on my deathbed if I didn't even try to do it 100%,
Mm-hmm.
sweating profusely, not enough money in the bank?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was just on board from the get-go. I have
Well,
such a deep passion for film.
what fueled that passion for film? What is it about film
We're
that you?
Goonies kids.
Yeah.
The 80s, growing up in the 80s.
Yeah, growing up when we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think everyone says that. Well, everyone that's not Gen Z or Gen Alpha, just that time period of growing up in the 80s and 90s and those big film stars and those amazing, the Meryl Streeps, the Tom Cruises, you know,
Mhm.
all of those movies were so inspiring.
Yeah.
And when you watch them and you watch the craft and you watch the storytelling, even the technical aspects, we just want to be able to emulate that, if not improve on that, and show our stories in that light and make people feel the exact same way that we felt as kids watching The Goonies or Stand By Me.
Thing. Yeah, there's
Yes.
so many.
People, yeah.
We're a movie watching family.
Yes, we are.
So I'm kind of curious. So with storytelling, especially now,
Mhm.
God, man, we need inspiration. We need, I call it alternative scenarios,
Alternative scenarios.
Yeah.
right? Where people can kind of see the other side of everything, not to get people to agree necessarily, but just to be opened up to realize, oh, whoa, there's
Mhm.
more. I call it often dragonfly eye. So look at all these different subjects and these situations and get as many, there's so many perspectives to get. So with that, what role do you see storytelling, especially film, in kind of what role does it play in helping us reshape ourselves and each other in the future? and not be pie in the sky, la, la, la. Although it's okay to have that too, right?
That's such a big question. And I've thought
Yeah.
about this question. I don't think film is going anywhere. That's one thing. But I do think, especially on more complicated topics, I think film is the best way to go, right? We can see these people, especially if there's relatable characters and experiences seen in different lights, right? I think that's a great way for people to, in a non-aggressive way, learn other paths, right? And other experiences. So there's a deeper understanding. And it's not about sort of a didactic role of like, we must do this, we must do that, this is right. But just by following a character or falling in love with a character or a story or et cetera, right? I think it's going to be major in shaping the future, and especially film. And when we say film, we don't mean probably the new content creation, right? Because everyone can make films if you think about it now, right? It's making it super just great in a lot of ways. But in other ways, there's an opportunity to stand out above the noise with original story making. And some rules, right, are meant to be broken, but some rules are to be followed in storytelling, right? And it's the reason why there's a lead up, right? There's the crescendo and there is the giving of hope, right? There is the deeper understanding of characters and those sort of things. So I think it's going to play a massive role, and I think it already does. And that's certainly something that we think about at Todd Films instead of, how do I say this? Because I'm not being critical. Instead of just videography or sort of either run and gun, actually tell the story, right? So tell the story, whether it's right from the nuance, capture the nuance,
right?
And through the people involved in the mission, right, and the music and the just people, be people centered. And I know we've said that so many times, I can't even say it anymore, but I mean it. People centered.
Yeah. Film has that way of connecting people, and everyone is interested in the human condition. And so it doesn't always have to be relatable, but for instance, Sharon and I hope to show everyone with a show we will have in the future that shows what it's like to grow up multiracial on an army base in Korea in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, I wonder where that's coming from.
It's almost done, right?
Yeah, film has that power to change how you feel and think about other cultures and people and breaking barriers. I just recently watched a show where it was about it was like a 8-episode series on Netflix about a woman growing up on a Native American reservation. I never would have, I can read about it all day long, but seeing it and seeing the little nuances of their everyday life, it's just always, it was so eye-opening and inspiring. So I hope we do the same at Todd Films for people. And then throw in our zombie apocalypse movie, of course.
Here and there. You got it. Just because. Just because. It's homage to the good old days. To me too, though, with film, the thing that I love about it is, in a way, well, it is both an individual experience, but also a community experience where everybody can, it always blows me away. We all go in, we watch the show, we come out, and it's it's an eye-opener to see who saw what.
Right.
I think it really is a great way of opening hearts and minds to a degree too, because they often say it's either The Little Prince or Velveteen Rabbit, the heart sees what the eyes miss.
Right. Yeah, Little Prince, yeah.
Yeah. And there's things you pick up, and then you can share that nuance. And I think it also can deepen relationships and at least have some more substance in conversations, frankly. How do you decide which stories are worth telling and which ones do you walk from?
Well, so if we're looking at Todd Films, it's in our minds, there's the original content, like the zombie apocalypse stuff that Brenda and I will create, right? And then there's the mission-driven client films. And when we're deciding with mission-driven films, a mission's such a big word, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're trying to go and save the world, right? It might just be your existence. Right. Because you're right. Maybe, I don't know what it is. Like one of our first short films, Todd Films, working with an immigrant woman who started her own business and et cetera. But it wasn't about that really. We're just following her, right? And just sort of her experience and how she is and her nuances, right? But for us, we try to do we try to do everything we do with integrity. And so we've got to really believe in your story and believe in or it's not happening. I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say it.
You lost me.
Yeah, and for us to, we understand with the business model that might not be but with revenue models that it might not work out all the time, but it can't be where it's like, okay, cutting you a check, make this movie for me or make this film for me.
Right.
Yeah, you've got to be, contributing in a great way. We already have enough
Right.
negative,
Noise.
right, and enough noise, and we don't want to add more noise. So,
Right.
yeah, I
And
would say to,
yeah, exactly. Sorry.
that's okay. Yeah.
With our mission at Todd Films, what Sharon and I, when we were ideating and talking this through, we were saying we want to flip that traditional corporate style video on it,
Mm-hmm.
flip it on its head, especially when the orgs we're working with, it's all about donor impact, right? And showing the donor how their donations are actually working. They love to see it. We all love to see how we're contributing.
Mm-hmm.
So we took that model and we explain it as we're going to give you a short film,
Mm-hmm.
impact series,
Mm-hmm.
like actually a human-centered story. We're not just only there's a place for interviews. Like you said, there's a place for all of that. But we really want to do it through a filmmaker's lens
Mm-hmm.
and show their mission in a completely cinematic way.
Which is beautiful. And frankly, dare I use the I word again, but so much more impactful. And in essence, literally, you're showing them, here are the stories through your funds, through your funding. These are the stories that you're bringing to life,
Mm-hmm.
that you're helping someone else that then go on, in many cases, I would imagine, to kind of go on and end up influencing and shifting generations to come.
Right.
There's
Exactly.
such a ripple effect.
Right. And an answer to what Brendan calls compassion fatigue, which we see a lot of in the nonprofit space. And now because of social media in the world on any given topic, right? It's hard to get people to care anymore because they've seen so much. And so then I think that people will always be interested with what's happening with the person, but how it's packaged and how it's told, right? If the intention is to pull on heartstrings, these days especially, it's probably going to fall flat. But if you show right, the human condition in almost real time, like what is, to Bren's point, when I go to donate for a nonprofit, what is it actually doing? What does it do for someone? Who are the people I'm supporting? So I think if you show those parts of the story, it's a lot more impactful. We can't wait to create
I'm going to
it.
say that's going to be the word
My next
of
one.
day.
That's a new app idea, to come up with new words for purpose-driven, impact-driven, mission-driven, and especially in our former world of VC, right? I have tried, but it's impactful and it's mission-driven and it's purpose-driven. And the only difference is you have to mean it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to ask, what's it like to build a company as sisters?
Fun.
That answers
It's so
it
much
right
fun.
there.
People ask it all the time.
I bet. There's nothing original about that, but I got it. What strengths and tensions do you guys, does that bring? I would imagine you've been doing this for so long, since you were 7 and 11.
Yes.
You have that dance down, but
Yeah.
I'd be curious to hear.
I would say we're sort of an anomaly, right? Because people tell you not to work with your family, et cetera. I think even with when we had our Brooklyn cafe and bakery chains in Helsinki, and it got really stressful, really, really stressful. Even, having combat COVID. And at that point, that the thing that, we had to sort of close up the business because of, right? I think we got in one disagreement, one argument. And then it ended with, I'm telling mom. And literally within 30 minutes, we were cool. And it was, I'm telling mom, you cursed at me. I remember that, or something like that. Or you said something.
Sister Buddy.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that for Bren and I, we've talked about this a lot. Like, what's the secret sauce? We get along famously, and people who know us well know that I'm trying to think of tensions. Like, we just let each other, we know each other's strengths, right?
Yeah.
So Brent's great at this. I'm great at this. And then we stay in our lanes of being good at this. And then we also default to the other's expertise.
Yeah.
Right. And then, there's a lot of synergy and there's a lot of crossover in comms, but in comms there are many different things you can be great at or less great at. And so we let the other sort of
shine.
Shine, yeah. So if I write a script for a film, I already know who's producing it, right? It's going to be Bren. She's asking all the right questions. So she won an award for the first film that I wrote for Best Producer, because I know she's the person to go to. You want it done and you want it done really well. And all the moving parts are going to go to her, right? Well, I'm in the creative world and la la and, writing away on a script or seeing a vision in the middle of the night. I think that's where we really excel, is that we let each other be the best versions of ourselves and not we don't try to impede on that.
Right.
And there's no like jealousy and there's like, oh, I wish I had that.
Right.
It's just literally none of it.
Oh.
It's like, yay, you won best producer.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Or like, yeah. So
Well, congratulations on that, Brenda.
Thank you.
Right? So cool.
But I do think our secret sauce, I know what it is.
What is it?
It's our sense of humor.
Oh yeah, we laugh at everything.
And everybody knows that will carry you through anything. We will laugh at our own funerals. Like, I will be laughing. Like, I will pop up from the coffin and laugh and lay back down.
Good one.
It's true. I know. Yeah.
That ability to laugh even through the tears, which we had to do many times during Brooklyn Cafe.
Yeah.
We'll start laughing. And then it truly is the best medicine. It's so cliche.
Yeah.
But it's
I'm going to be candid. I'm telling her, Kate, fan. When
Oh
we
my
found
God.
us, so Brenna and I, we were happy to be sitting next to each other when I got the call we were in mom and dad's living room, got the call about the breast cancer. And when I saw that it was the a breast navigator from the doctor's office, I already knew. I was like, oh no, she's going to say some bad news, And Bren was sitting across from me and she was like, the nurse was like, yeah, so unfortunately you do have breast cancer. And I looked at Bren and I smiled. She's like, no. I'm like, I've got it. And then we we were sort of kind of giggling. We're like, sorry, we don't actually think it's funny, but we were looking at each other and just like, we couldn't have, we have a saying to each other like, oh my God, that's really exposing. We're like, oh, that's really exposing you breast cancer.
Oh my God.
It helps. It really helps. And it's not even most people, if you see it in person, you might think it's delusional, but it's not. It's really just, we're like, yeah, we can find a lot of, we can find humor in a lot of scenarios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that kind of attitude is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like,
I guess it is. Yeah.
Okay. How did your family take that news?
Our families, they took it as everybody's just watching me, like how's Sharon taking the news, that kind of thing. I had to do a little bit of convincing to everyone. Like, no, I'm not pretending that I'm okay. One, I got the sort of best version of breast cancer you could get, which is right. Well, well-differentiated IDC is localized. Yes, I did have I had to have a unilateral mastectomy, but it's really just a mastectomy, in my opinion, right?
Life.
Yeah, like I don't know, I'm living, right? And they took it as, once they saw that everybody was a little bit tiptoeing. The person, they're like, "Is she okay? Is she?"
I think they were scared. I think
they
mom
were scared. Yeah, at first, yeah, and then they're like, "Oh no, she's fine." She's okay, and so then it just became about me healing. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and also then absolutely throwing yourself into something else was going to give you so much joy, so much laughter, right? So
Right.
you had so much positivity and I'm going to say wonder, right? And kind of, I would just imagine releasing the floodgates of all this creativity that both of you had, all these ideas. Also getting to work with the people that you want to work with.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a big piece of a lot of this too. It must have felt like a huge, in a way, exhale. Like, yeah, there's that thing in the back of your head, but you're like, okay, yeah, there's that, but this is so much bigger. I'm going to make this the big thing.
Yeah. No, that's exactly. And there's almost this, I can't think of a better way of saying it. It's almost this feeling of I'll be damned if I don't ...
Right.
Which you kind of always have that spirit, but especially, after finding out about breast cancer, and we had been, again, sort of toying with the ideas and, shooting film projects here and there, but never really in a full sort of official capacity.
Right.
There was that moment of like, there's no doggone way I'll leave Earth without.
Not to mention the
Sorry, not yet.
Yeah, exactly. Not yet. Not without our say. Not without our films. Not without our.
Got a few more things here.
There we go.
Don't rush me.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Do not rush me.
And with the state of the world, I feel like there's more of that urgency. Definitely for me personally, and Sharon, I know you as well. Yeah, there's that urgency. Sharon and I always say, like, just to be funny, we're like, do not go gently into the night. Rage. Yeah, so that that applies to this project as well, to Todd Films.
Yes.
So the thing that I also really love is that it's kind of this message on, instead of waiting to allow yourself or give yourself to do purpose or have purpose,
Mhm.
man, lean into it here and now.
Mhm.
Because you just never really know what the next phone call might bring. But
Right.
what's the return you hope that Todd Films delivers for audiences and communities?
Oh, that's an easy one. We wanna move mountains
Yeah,
with our stories. We wanna move mountains. If it's, and help to solve some of the issues that we have in the world right now, especially, right? They're not just going to go away, but we want to be able to move mountains with our stories. We want to be able to change people's minds, right? Soften
right.
hearts.
Change perspective.
Yeah, change perspectives, right? And just a bit closer to understanding each other. Mhm.
Exactly. And film absolutely has the power to do that. Art in general has the power to
Art
move.
does.
Yeah.
Even as you just said, it really is like just ignite a spark in everyone to care
Yeah.
again in these days of such massive apathy because of overwhelm and exhaustion.
Yeah.
And the accidental meeting of your heroes that aren't so heroic, right? And that's what social media does too, right? So there's a lot of great things from social media.
Yeah.
But the negative side of that is that, no, I thought you were like this, dot, dot, dot. I thought this was like that, dot, dot, dot. And so I think what that does is sort of takes away the hope that people had.
Absolutely.
And so we hope that we are able to sort of reinstill it, and especially with our mission-driven client films. You see that
Yeah.
people are out there. They're not letting the world stop them from trying to change the world for better. They're not. They just simply aren't. They're not taking no for an answer. They're not taking defunding for an answer. They're not taking the "you're not as important anymore" for an answer. They just keep pushing and pushing,
Right.
pushing, and helping other people who need the help.
Right.
And so we'll always be there to tell that story.
And it's just, one foot in front of the other. We're
One
just,
foot in front of the other. Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
got bigger fish to fry for sure. So, what are some of the films people can be on the lookout for? Or
Yeah.
are you allowed to say that?
Well, once Brandon, you totally gave away our big guy. No,
Oh
just
yeah, sorry.
our side, we have a few fun ones. So that we have the TV series that we're working on. We've got this series about growing up on military bases, a lot of fun stuff. And then we have a short film that we're working on, and then all of our client films, right? We're working with a few nonprofits now to help bring some of their missions to life. And we just wrapped up a documentary that we shot called Dope Girl, and we just had a private viewing there. And so let's see where it goes after this. We shot it for the client, so sort of let's see. Yeah.
I hope to bring it to Charlottesville. That's all I have to say.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yes.
that'll definitely be in the works. We have a lot of things in the oven, and some of them will come to light in the next couple of months. So,
Awesome.
Well put, Sharon.
right?
Not aloof at all.
Not a loop at all. I'm like, what are we supposed to say and not say,
Yeah,
right?
that's how you yeah.
So, in closing, then, take a second. Let's think about this. So, knowing what you now know about business, about life, about impermanence, what advice would you give your younger selves?
Good one.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Done.
Okay, I'll go first.
Yes.
Off the top of my head. I would tell my younger self, first, the advice I would give is to stop trying to people please so much. I think that's a big one.
That is a huge one. Mm.
Stop trying to people please and make sure everyone else is so comfortable that you are uncomfortable all the time. Yeah, you shrink yourself. And that every table that you've been at so far, you've belonged at.
Ooh,
That would be my note to my younger self.
I can't follow that. That's pretty good. That's too good.
That is a really good
Mhm.
one.
Mhm.
Well, you mentioned earlier too that whole notion of, living your life,
Mhm.
your life, not
Mhm.
somebody else's life.
Right.
I feel like in the beginning, that's literally what we do. We go and we do what we think we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then we wake up one day and you realize, whoa, I've put myself in this mold and it's not me. It doesn't fit at all. It hurts. And then far too often we end up having to disentangle, dismantle, blow up, depending
Blow
on,
up.
yeah, I was a blow up person too, rip the Band-Aid off. Whee! And it would be so wonderful if we were able to catch that earlier and just share when we see younger generations struggling with what do I do, what do I don't do, letting know, at least this is advice I've said, is like, hey, other people don't have to understand why you're doing it. You have to understand why you're doing it. And you do that, the rest will fall into place. And if it doesn't, they're not along, you're complete with them on your journey.
Yeah, I would actually, to that point, I would tell my younger self not to wait around for everybody to validate your decisions, right?
Yeah, that's a
Um,
huge one.
not people in your home, not people outside of it, not your acquaintances, not your colleagues, not your heroes, right? Because it'll never happen. You will not get 100% validation from everyone. And even when you go and do the thing and you can show that you can do it, people will still project their fears onto you, even if it's well-meaning, right? And again, let's a slight pause to say, not in a sociopathic way where you don't care about what other people think of you. There's a healthy mixture, the healthy balance. But I think most folks are good. I think oftentimes good folks wait for the validation. I think the
Yes.
answer is not to, right? Just, you do not need people's permission, especially women. You weren't going to get it anyway. So you might as well go out and get it, right? Yeah. You're going to spend your entire existence and your entire career,
Right.
trying to, let me sit here. Let me sit here.
Trying to convince people.
Let me
want
sit
their
here, right?
Right.
Or you can just make the doggone table and the seat and the
Right.
whole thing,
Exactly.
conference room,
Here,
right?
here.
And the whole thing. You can
The whole
build
town.
the whole town. Yeah.
You know, that's really so true because I think so often, whenever you ask this, at least what I've shared with my daughters, is just remember it's fine to kind of hear what people have to say, but it's always going to come to your point, Brenda. It always comes colored by someone else's bias, by someone else's experience.
Yeah.
And they don't have the courage. They don't have the bravery. They don't have the sense of humor.
Mm.
They may not have the vision, right, that you do. So often I find when I hear some of the advice, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's just absolutely so not at all relevant to me. Which
Right.
may be me being stubborn. And you know what? Then I'm okay. I'd rather be stubborn and go ahead and flop on my
Right.
as my life shows. Careers, I've done
All
some
of our life.
great things. I've done some swings and misses, but it's all got me where I am now. And I really, honestly, there are parts I would have probably maybe massaged a little bit,
Mhm.
but I appreciate all the characters I've come
Yeah.
across.
And us, people failing at projects and work stuff. And I'm saying that like that on purpose, right? It's not a failure in life, right? And it's not because someone else said you were going to fail and you just didn't listen to them. Some things you quite literally have to figure out on your own, and you have to experience it for yourself so that you can say, "Oh, okay, maybe this isn't where I should live. I should live in another space," right? But you won't know it just because someone else told you that it wasn't a good idea. And as long as you're not compromising your morals, it's very subjective. The decision to do this or that's very subjective.
Yeah. No, so agree.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much. Thank both of you so much. I cannot wait to see. I want to see Dope Girl. So,
Yay! Yeah,
and
you
I
got
want
to
to see
see
some of
Deborah.
these other.
Thank you so much for having us and this
Oh,
amazing conversation.
no, it's my pleasure. And I think it's a previous guest used this phrase and I loved it. It's like, stop waiting for the permission slip. Life is the permission slip,
Oof, yeah.
which I love. And it's so true. And you two are completely living it. So honestly, kudos to you for this incredible story that you are in the process of unfolding for us real time.
Thank
And I
you.
can't wait
Thank you,
to
Kate.
see the next chapter.
Thank you, Kate. You're amazing. I love you.
Thanks.
So thank you so much.
I love you both. All right. Thanks. Wow. Aren't they an amazing duo? I cannot imagine working on something so stressful as films with my siblings and the amount of joy that they have is just infectious. What a treat. So my KB takeaways, very specific. Why not now? Do not wait for a sad and scary phone call like Sharon got to decide, hey, life is short. I'm going to do this now. Otherwise, I may not have the opportunity, which means you're going to have to do it afraid. And guess what? You're braver than you think you are. So give it a shot. To me, also love the piece. Every table you've ever sat at, you belonged at. And there are going to be others in your future, and there are going to be others that you yourself are going to build. So get that hammer, get those nails, be prepared. And finally, your journey and your life doesn't have to look like anybody else's. It has to ring true to you. This one to me is really hard. And I'm hoping for younger generations it'll get easier. But one of the risks that we fall into when asking everybody for their advice, advice is helpful. It can be directional. However, it more than so often has got everyone else's baggage attached to it. So go ahead and do it. Just remember that part. And you, at the end of the day, no one knows what stands so resolute than you. And lastly, oh my gosh, there's so many skills that you already have that you can transfer into really putting to work to do something on that bucket list of yours. So go ahead, be brave, jump in, and let me know what you think of this episode and what else you'd like and who else you'd like to hear from. And I look forward to continuing the conversation at the next Women Advancing.
Thanks for listening. May this episode inspire you to move forward. Be sure to go to iTunes, Spotify, katebyrne.co, that's KATEBYRNE.co, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and listen to even more episodes. Here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. Be sure to meet them on the next Women Advancing. Ta till next time.